Just when the public thought that this would be a cold case, police surprised everyone with an arrest. As more information comes to light and the suspect stands trial, we're finally beginning to uncover what the police discovered during the last 2 months since the brutal murders of the 4 University of Idaho students. On December 30th, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, a 28-year-old man from Philadelphia, was finally arrested. It is not clear at this time what his motive was, but it could have a lot to do with his fascination with criminal psychology. As we know from earlier reports, when he killed those students, he did not take any of their belongings or valuables, and there was no signs of sexual assault. So it looks like he only killed them for the sake of killing them. So he has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's in criminology from DeSales University. He's currently completing his PhD in criminal justice from Washington State University, which is only about 7 miles away from the crime scene. He had appeared in court in Philadelphia and volunteered to be extradited to Idaho for the final court hearing. Bryan has insisted that he had nothing to do with the murders and is expected to plead not guilty. The police have charged him with 4 counts of first-degree murder and felony burglary. He could be sentenced to death if found guilty, as this was legal in the state of Idaho. The mother of one of the victims, Katie Goncalves, has publicly said that she's hoping for the death penalty. The case has gathered national attention, with the police receiving over 19,000 tips from the public. A major reason is that the 4 students all seemed so innocent. It was hard to imagine why someone would kill them in such a brutal way. A lot of details of the investigation have finally come to light as the police released an 18-page affidavit as part of the required court documents. Before we get to that, let's first go over the background of the case. The case began on Sunday, November 13th, when 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in their rented house. The students were Katie Goncalves, who was 21, Madison Mogan, who was 21, Ethan Chapin, who was 20, and Zaina Carnotto, who was 20. Katie and Madison had been best friends since middle school and looked at colleges together. Finally, they decided on the University of Idaho. Ethan and Zaina were a couple. There were 3 floors in that rented house. On the first floor lived 2 other roommates who survived the entire attack. Zaina lived on the second floor. Kaylee and Madison lived on the 3rd floor, where there were 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The night before the attack, all of the roommates were going out at different parties, as this was a typical Saturday night. All of them returned home by 2 a.m., and the 4 students were slain between 4 to 4:20 a.m. In earlier reports, it was originally thought that the 2 roommates survived by sleeping through the attack. Now we know that one of the roommates was awake and actually saw the killer. According to the affidavit, which you can read by clicking on the link in the description below, all 6 people were in their rooms after 2 a.m. At 4 a.m., Zaina left her room to get a DoorDash order. After that, one of the roommates said that she heard crying from Zaina's room and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." The noises eventually prompted the roommate to leave her room. It was around 4:30 a.m. that she ran into the attacker as he was leaving the house. She said that she saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask walking past her as she stood in a frozen shock face. She gave a description of the attacker, saying that he was 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. She then locked herself in her room. Police were not called until late morning to early afternoon the next day. So why didn't she call 911 as soon as she saw the suspect? One possible explanation is that she was in shock and could not think logically at the moment. Her only thought might be to protect herself by going into her room. Another explanation could be that their house was a very well-known party house where strangers could just go in and out as they pleased when they were throwing parties. So the roommate might have thought that the person was a confused college student who was trying to go to a party, or that he was basically harmless. She might have also thought that this was a less serious crime, like a break-in or robbery, and not a crime where her friends' lives would be in danger. According to earlier reports, even when the police were called to the house in early Sunday afternoon, it was for an unconscious person. If this report was true, that would mean that the roommates had no idea that her friends were dead. The affidavit also did not clarify why the surviving roommate didn't call the police as soon as she could, or whether or not she even knew that her roommates were dead when she called the police. The document only said that when the police arrived on the scene at 4 p.m. on Sunday, they saw Zaina and Ethan dead in the bedroom on the second floor. Zaina was actually lying on the floor. On the third floor, Kaylee and Madison were dead on the same bed. The police said that the two girls had visible stab wounds. There was a tan leather knife sheath on the bed next to Madison. Police lab determined that there was a single source of male DNA on the knife sheath. Through speaking to the surviving roommates, police determined that the attack happened somewhere between 4 to 4:25 a.m. The court document also goes into detail about the police investigation. First, the police reviewed security footage all around the area and saw a suspicious white Hyundai Elantra car. Because this area had very little traffic this early in the morning, and the car was coming in and out of the area several times, police knew from the beginning that the car had something to do with the attack. In the weeks following, police around the area were on active lookout for any cars matching this description. On November 25th, a Washington State University officer located a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra in one of the parking lots on campus. He ran the license plate and saw that Kohberger was a white male about 6 feet tall. The photograph on his ID also showed that he had bushy eyebrows, which matched the description given by the surviving roommate. This immediately made Kohberger one of the suspects. Police then analyzed his cell phone data and were able to track where his phone was located leading up to the murder. Even though from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. on November 13th, his phone was shut off, its earlier activities before 3 a.m. showed that he was on his way to the crime scene. His phone's locations matched exactly where the security footage spotted the white Hyundai Elantra car as it drove to Moscow, Idaho. This just shows that Bryan is smart, but not that smart. He's smart enough to know to turn his phone off while committing the crime, but not smart enough to turn it off on his way to the crime scene. His cell phone being near the crime scene led the police to actively monitor him for 4 days. The FBI put him on an active surveillance at his family home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. They saw him carrying out trash in white surgical gloves, probably not to leave fingerprints. But little did he know that he left DNA evidence at the scene. Police were able to get his trash and got a DNA match. On December 30th, he was arrested in his family home. On January 4th, he was extradited to Idaho. Bryan was born on November 21st, 1994, and was raised in Pennsylvania. He worked as a part-time security officer for the Pleasantville School District and was a teaching assistant in Washington State University. Some of the students in his class actually went on the news and said that his behavior noticeably changed after the killings. They said that his mood improved a lot and he would give everyone 100s during grading. They also said that his appearance was more disheveled and disorganized. While researching for his master's thesis at DeSales University, he actually reached out to ex-convicts on Reddit, asking them to complete a survey. He posted in the ex-con, prison, and other subreddits. When the news of his arrest came to light, his account was quickly suspended, and you can only look at his post through the Wayback Machine, which I will also link in the description below. His post read, "Hello, my name is Bryan, and I'm inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime." In his survey, he asked questions like, how did you leave the scene? What was the first move you made in order to accomplish your goal? After arriving, what steps did you take prior to locate the victim or target? It was almost as if he was asking for advice on how to commit a crime and get away with it. He even signed his own name, Bryan Kohberger, and his DeSales University email address on the post. Right now, Bryan is being held at a jail in Idaho awaiting trial. Because this case has captured a lot of attention, there were a lot of people speculating on who the killer was. One outrageous thing that happened was a TikToker whose name was Ashley Gillard actually accused a University of Idaho history professor of being the mastermind behind the scenes. So the TikToker got this idea through tarot card readings. She's convinced that she's right. She even came up with this elaborate story on how the University of Idaho professor was a secret lesbian who had feelings for Kaylee, who was one of the victims. And these unresolved feelings led her to plot the stabbings. Even after the overwhelming evidence against Bryan came to light, and the professor actually sued Ashley for defamation, Ashley is still not backing down on her claims. She's in fact saying that she's still right and she's not afraid of going to court. I will be continuing to watch this case closely. If there are any other major updates, I will do another video. In the meantime, if you like true crime content, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you.